Alex.
Nate.
What's taking so long, Bruce?
Sorry, sir. Still processing. Got it. Downloading archives. Live film ranking, movie reviews, film discussions. Welcome to Levels of Geeks Live. And now your hosts, Alex Figueroa and Nate.
Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of Levels of Geeks Live. I'm your host, Alex Figueroa, and my co-host is...
Nate from Netflix Reviews.
All right, guys, today we have made it. It's been like 4 or 5 weeks of straight decades breakdown and giving you guys the top 10s. You guys are discussing with us, which is awesome. But today is the actual day that you guys and us, we're going to try to pick which was the best decades from the 70s all the way from the 2010s. And of course, before we start all this, I would like to say thank you to all the Patreons that support the channel. From Becklish to Pablo LaFrosia, Jonathan McCoy, from Charles Woods, Stephanie I'll Buy the Popcorn, Jay Manley, Robin Makes the Cut, Kevin, Rev 4K, and pretty much everybody out there. Again, thank you so much for joining in on the replay. If you're catching on the replay, and if you guys are live with us, thank you so much. Also from Evan from Pop Culture 33, Tony Movie Chappie, Jose my cousin, Stephanie's in the house, Robert's in the house. Thank you so much, everyone. And again, hit those like buttons if you enjoyed this video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. All right, so before we get anything started,
by the way, best news. Evan says they can hear you this week, so I don't have to do the make-believe recap where I try to say everything you said. A recap version.
Yeah,
so
I tested everything out. I had to test it. But anyway, let's start off with some promotions. So let's hit that off first, and then we're going to get into the actual show. So with that said, let's get some promotions out the way. So this week, we dropped yesterday the Enter the Dragon review. So this is the only Bruce Lee movie we're covering this year, and let me just tell you guys, that's going to change next year. Me and Nate talked off air. We might do a father and son week where it's Brandon Lee and Bruce Lee where we're going to review some of their films. But yes, this is actually a good review. Guys, check it out. It's available anywhere you guys listen to your podcast providers. Just check it out. Action Movie Guys, search Enter the Dragon. We got a lot of stuff there from Stallone Month and every other stuff there. Nate, you got anything to say about this episode?
I loved it. It was great. I loved watching the movie. I think the breakdown's pretty good. We had a good discussion. Had some good points, both of us. I liked it. It's a really good episode.
Yeah, it's very fun for those of you out there. And now next, tomorrow night, the only time we record, we're doing a live on a Tuesday because normally me and Nate are doing our podcast live with the Patreon. Tomorrow, for the first time and maybe the only time, we're going to have a live show back-to-back nights. This time, we're going to be tackling the Batman movie. It's going to be me, Elliot from Movie Files, and then, of course, Nate Gwynn.
Nate the Penguin.
The Penguin. Nate Gwynn over there. This is one of my favorite, out of all the stuff that we put together, this is my favorite backdrop that I put together.
I look crazy. My head looks deformed, but that's okay. It looks deformed, but that's okay. I'll accept it. I like the Penguin.
The funny thing is because of his makeup, I was trying to figure out how to fit it in there.
There was no way around it, man.
Yeah, no.
This head, no matter what.
I had to do it, and then then I had to.
And Elliot really looks like his head was just put on another body.
It does. I couldn't blend. I was like, you know what? I'm not blending this. I just wanted to make it fun.
Look at his face and his hands. The difference.
2 different colors. Yeah.
At least my hands are the same color.
No. But look, again, tomorrow's show is going to be awesome. Please, guys, watch the movie if you can. It's going to be a 5-minute spoiler-free for those of you that have not seen it and you want to watch it live. It's going to be a 5-minute spoiler-free, and then there's no holds barred. Me and Nate are going to discuss character, and Elliot, we're going to do character breakdown. We're going to be doing each character breakdown. We're going to talk about the Gotham City, the new version of Gotham City that takes place in New York City, why they went there. We're going to be talking about which comic books this movie is based off of, because this movie is based off of a few comic books put together, which is awesome. We're going to talk about the whole second year of him as Batman, why it was so dark. I have a theory on all that. And then, of course, the length of the movie. It's a big topic, which we're going to be talking about tomorrow, because this is a very big topic on a 3-hour movie, which I will just say could have been shortened to like an hour and 30 minutes with this type of movie. But we'll talk about that tomorrow night. So again, guys, tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing a full throttle The Batman spoiler breakdown, 5-minute spoiler free for you guys out there. All right, so
Evan, come watch the first 5 minutes and then leave.
I will have to
We'll
skip
give you
the
a
bed
warning.
once I see the
He
movie.
hasn't seen it yet. If you haven't
It's
seen
okay.
it, come watch the first 5. We'll just tell you if we liked it, and then have a good rest of your night, and then come back and watch the replay.
Yes, I did not get the popcorn. Okay, so when I went to AMC, the guy said that they had 10 cases, and that opening night they sold everything. There was no popcorn head. I don't know if I sent it to you. There's a popcorn head of the cowl.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a limited edition. They sold all 10 cases. There was no buckets. There was no cups. I was there with a plastic Coca-Cola cup. I wanted a Batman cup. But my friend in Florida hooked me up with this nice, weird silver Batman cup and bucket. And so I got some stuff from Florida. But here, they sold out of everything. The AMC just got ransacked. But nothing you can do when it's like a big blockbuster movie. You got to catch it opening night.
Yep.
So, pretty much. But
That's true.
No, it is. If you don't catch it opening night, you ain't getting shit.
Not if you're looking for like limited things like that. Although, let's be honest, these big theater chains, at minimum, those cups should last longer than they do. The cups. It's a cup.
Yeah.
I get the buckets. Usually, sometimes they're like tin. You know what I mean? It's like a little more expensive to make. They're plastic cups. You should have more than however many you have. I get the popcorn buckets. There's a limited space. Whatever. Come on. Do better. Cups.
They have to.
Easy.
They have to do better. I don't mind the limited edition head, and fine. If those are only 10 cases, we already knew those things were going to sell out. And right now, they're going for like a skyrocket. And I'm not paying $100 for $30
for a plastic
yeah.
popcorn head. It's like it's only cool if you're actually eating out of it in the theater the first night. After that, it's no longer that cool.
It's all right, because I got my Ecto one. That's all I needed.
There you go.
That's all I
Pop some
wanted.
popcorn right now. Go get
How
it.
you doing, Steve?
Put it in.
Yeah,
Steven,
no,
what's up?
I got the Ecto one. Okay, with that said, let's start off. I'm going to give you guys the recap of every movie of every decade that we covered. And then we're going to go into some voting, and then you guys will hook it up. Hey, what's up, Alex Thomas? What's up, Steven? Let's hit it off. This is the 70s movies that we gave you guys from 1 to 10. Yes.
Let's tell them. Okay, while you guys have this up, you guys can look at it. We're going to discuss real quick in a recap. But here's how this tonight's going to work. We are going to show you the recap of all the decades. Then me and Alex are going to give our vote, I guess, for which we liked the best. Okay? And why. And then you guys in the chat are going to vote, and I'm going to tally them. So don't vote now. Don't tell us which one you like now. When we say, all right, when we're done, when me and Alex are done going, you go in the chat, say, I'm voting for the 1970s because blank. We'll read it, and then we'll tally the votes, and then at the end, we'll see which one has the most votes. That's going to be the easiest way for us to keep track of all the votes, other than putting it in throughout the whole show. So
no, that's fine. All right, so here we go. This is the 70s, so I'm just going to read them off really quick. This is not in the order from 10 to 1. This is just random posters I have to put up. With that said, is Jaws, Star Wars, number 4, A New Hope. Then you got The Sting, The Godfather 1, The Exorcist, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Kramer versus Kramer, Superman 1 with Christopher Reeves, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Jack Nicholson, and then The Godfather Part 2. Again, guys, to me, this was the strongest. I'm just going to give a synopsis. In terms of awards and everything, this was the strongest out of all of them. But
it had
again,
the most nominations and wins, I think.
Yes, but that does not mean that this is going to be a win. Again, you guys are the ones that are going to choose it. So again, this is the 70s. Now let's get to the 80s bracket. Now the 80s, a little bit starting to get more commercial here, than introducing some more comic book movies. We're introducing the Batman. We got Back to the Future, the Batman, Empire Strikes Back, the sequel to A New Hope. And you got E.T., Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. That's the third one in the trilogy. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. For those of you out there, that's the first movie of the trilogy. Rain Man, Return of the Jedi is the last one of the entire Star Wars at that time. And then Tootsie, and then Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Again, it's still strong, but not in the award category. Still, the awards are still here and there.
This is more tentpole, commercial, what you think like summer blockbusters, except Rain Man and Tootsie. Yeah. All those other ones are like big, fun, kind of like movies you could take your family to and eat popcorn and watch.
I agree. Now, we're going to start getting into the 90s, where the 90s pop culture started to change. Everything started to become commercial and Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all that stuff.
This is very Coca-Cola.
Very Coca-Cola. Yeah.
Big Pun died.
Titanic. Jurassic Park. We got Forrest Gump. We got the original Lion King. We got now Star Wars Episode 1. And then we got Independence Day, Dancing with Wolves, Terminator 2, The Sixth Sense, and then, of course, Saving Private Ryan. Again, out of this entire list, I have not seen Dancing with Wolves because any copy that I got my hands on was kind of shit. I'm going to be honest with you. They ain't no 4K.
Crunchy.
Yeah,
like, I'm not putting this on.
I'm not putting 720 on a 4K TV. But, so this so far is getting commercial. Again,
But
Titanic is the
as far as
strongest one.
award categories,
Yeah.
I see in the chat some people don't care. We get it, but just as far as any sort of metric, this one was more than the 80s, but still less than the 70s. I think this was the second most nominations and wins, but it really goes downhill from here for 2000s and 2010s.
Yeah. In terms of awards, it goes downhill, but the quality of films and blockbusters is going to start
box office goes
up.
way up.
Yeah, so with that said, now we're going to hit the 2000s, people, and this is where $1 billion are like $10 to people.
Like M&M's.
Yeah, here we go.
$1 billion.
We got The Dark Knight, which, again, to everybody is the best Batman movie ever made. We're going to discuss that tomorrow at 9 o'clock. And then, of course, we got Spider-Man, the original one with Tobey Maguire. We got Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, the first one. Shrek 2. Puss in Boots has got introduced. We got Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King. That's the third one of the trilogy. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chance, which is my favorite of the 5 movies. That's the sequel. Then you got Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, which I think is the best Lord of the Rings movie ever filmed. Then you got Finding Nemo. Then you got Avatar, which was, and then you got Harry Potter 1, which is, it's not Prisoner of Azkaban, but it's the first one of the Harry Potter.
A phenomenon. Yeah, yes. launched a phenomenon.
Oh, it did. I'm a Harry Potter dude. Okay, so this launched $1 billion. I mean, global. I mean, this trillions of dollars if you put all these money together from all these movies.
Billions left and right, all of them.
Yeah. So again, this is the 2000s. Now let's get to the 2010s. Because this is where money,
cash flowing. And you'll be able to tell by some of the movies, it's like this movie, a lot of people didn't even like it. Yet everyone went to see it so much that it ended up being on this list.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at you, Lion King remake.
All right, here we go. Here we go. This is 2010. You already know this is the attack of the comic book movies. We got
attack of the franchises.
Yeah, attack of the franchises. We got Avengers Endgame, which is the number 4 of the of all the Avengers. Then you got Star Wars: A Force Awakens, which is starting a brand new saga. And then, of course, you got Avengers Infinity War, which is the prequel to the Endgame. Then you got Jurassic World, which is kicking off a brand new Jurassic Park franchise. A brand new Lion King. Why the hell I didn't see it, but why did we go down that route? Yeah. Black Panther, which is awesome. Avengers, which kicked off the entire MCU and I guess any comic book movie team
up movie. Yeah, the team up movie.
And then Fast and the Furious 7 is the final one with Paul Walker. Then you got Frozen 2, and then Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I think that's part 2.
Part 2.
One, yeah,
that's great.
That one's part 2. Yeah, that's my favorite also of those.
Isn't it funny how the first Harry Potter was in the 2010s and then the last, was in the 2000s, and then the last one was the only one that made it in the 2010s.
I agree. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, so here we go. Let me see what you guys think out there, and then we're gonna discuss which ones we're gonna pick, and then you guys start going off and which ones you guys would pick. And again, if you guys are enjoying this, if you have not hit that like button, hit those damn like buttons. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, support the channel. But here we go. Alex Thomas says, "Dang, we got 4 Avenger movies in the 2010s."
Yes.
Yes, you did.
All 4 of them.
Tim Talks Talkies.
Tim Talks Talkies.
Yeah, Tim Talkies. Okay. The 10s have some killer, smaller releases, but yeah, it's the decade of the massive franchises. Yeah, totally agree. Tony Movie Chappie says, The Lion King live action remake did not deserve to make that much money at the box office. Disney's king of the 2000s and 10s. That was Evan.
That's fact.
Alex Thomas is throwing up the confetti because he's like, MCU.
Yes.
But yeah, look, I mean, everyone is like agreeing with this. So yeah.
Tim Talks Talkies. Good point. There are a lot of smaller releases now. When you guys vote, okay, because we're about to give our kind of picks and why. I think he knows what I'm going to pick, and I'm pretty sure I know what he's going to pick. But we're still going to talk about it. Now, I want you guys to... We only pick the biggest movies, but we know this is just a sample of the top, right? This is a sample of the top as far as success. That does not mean that we think these are the best. Are these some of the best? Yes. Would I say Avengers Infinity War is one of the best movies of the 2010s? For me, yes, probably. But would I say like The Lion King or Frozen 2 is? Definitely not. So when you're voting, which you're not going to do just yet, I want you to take into account the smaller releases. Because when I did my notes here, I didn't just include what was on the top 10 list. Like, we want to go beyond. So, Alex, if you're ready, I'm going to give my my decade that I picked and why I picked it.
All
okay.
Right.
I personally, and this might not be a surprise to anyone, and it might be a surprise to somebody, but I'm going with the 90s. I am a 90s person through and through. Now, I did write some notes here. For one, some of my favorite directors of all time had some of their best films in the 90s. I start David Fincher, okay? You have Seven, The Game, Fight Club, all in the 90s. Love all those movies. They're great. You got Quentin Tarantino being birthed on the movie scene. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. Love all three of those movies, but Pulp Fiction especially. Okay, Martin Scorsese, one of my favorite directors. Goodfellas, my favorite Scorsese movie. Goodfellas, also Cape Fear, a great remake with Robert De Niro, and Casino. 3 Robert De Niro Scorsese team-ups. Love all 3. My favorite director of all time, Steven Spielberg. 90s, he did a lot in the 80s and 90s, really. But 90s movies for me that I think are all great. Hook, my favorite movie of all time, of course, Jurassic Park. It's up there on the list. Schindler's List, which it's not a crowd pleaser, but I feel like it's a masterpiece of a film. And then, of course, Saving Private Ryan, which also was on our list. Then someone who I'm not crazy about, but when I look at his 90s output, it's like peak. It's James Cameron, because in the 80s, he did Alien, and Terminator and The Abyss. But you match that up with Terminator 2, which is just the best one. True Lies, which is amazing. And then Titanic, which is not our favorite, but it's watchable. And it was I mean, you want to talk about a smash hit. This was the mega smash hit until his next mega smash hit came out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for me, just a couple other, like an actor that I love, and one of the reasons I love 90s films, Jim Carrey, my favorite comedy actor of all time, Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar. Like, that is a run. Guy. The Cable Guy. I left it out. And if you include it, that is a run that is just, Me, Myself, and Irene. That might have been 2000. I don't know, but it might have been 99. I can't remember. But either way, I mean, like, those movies are some of my favorite comedies that still make me laugh today. I think as far as if you're into it, I know Alex is not the biggest fan, but if you're an animated fan, I think the 90s was the best, or the renaissance of Disney, obviously. Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Mulan, like amazing output. And Pixar was born, right? Toy Story 2, A Bug's Life. Then they went into the 2000s, but they were birthed in the 90s. Alex, this one is for you. The Return, James Bond, GoldenEye.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow Never Dies, which I wasn't crazy about, but
that was
The World Is Not Enough. It was pretty awesome in hindsight. That was a movie that, like, I thought sucked, and then when we watched it for the podcast, I was like, I like this movie. This movie is pretty awesome. So Bond, the Pierce Brosnan era, I know one of your favorites, if not your favorite.
Yeah.
The 90s, pretty much. And for me, I just think the action films, just action, and we do an action podcast, but look, the 80s had some super highly creative action films, high concepts, Die Hards and all. I love all those movies, don't get me wrong. But I think the 90s hit that spot where they still had those high concept, creative 90s, creative storylines, but the technology and filmmaking got better in the 90s. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, the way they shoot action was a bit better, and it's even gotten better now. Like, what they can do with cameras now, they couldn't do in the 80s. They couldn't do in the 70s. So I think the 90s was right in the middle, but still had a blend of like 80s concepts with more modern filmmaking. So my favorite action, Speed, Twister, Terminator 2, the True Lies, like I said. You could make a crazy list of movies. So for me, it's the 90s. It's always been the 90s. Ninja Turtles, my favorite franchises ever. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1990. I grew up on it, and usually that tends to happen, right? Like what you grew up with is what you end up loving. But I feel like also it's just great quality movies, and so that's my pick. I picked the 90s.
Now, James said, now are we picking based on list from each decade, or are we picking on the decade overall? Because I agree with lots of
the one you love. No. These lists were just to go over some of the biggest highlights. If we were going, okay, this is a good point. If we were going off the lists, I'd probably pick the 70s, to be honest. The 70s that is an insane, set of movies.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were doing. I thought that was what I thought that's what we were doing.
You want everyone to vote off the list?
Yeah, because we gave them a 10 list. I mean, if that was the case, then we would have had Rocky for the 70s.
Well, no, that's personal preference.
Because I mean, you're picking a lot of movies that are not on the list.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm picking the decade that I think is the best. Now, if we're going battle of the best top 10s, I'm going 70s. 70s is, I don't think, as far as variety, critical acclaim, money, everything considered, I would pick the 70s. So by that criteria, I'll go 70s.
So we're basically, this is just highlighting the best films by awards or whatever of those decades, but we're choosing 10, which decades that we think is the best. Okay.
Yeah. Top 10 most popular. These are the most popular from each decade.
All right, so mine is going to be the 80s. Because I think the 80s, to be honest with you, if it wasn't for the 80s, there would be no 90s. Why? Because the 80s were to me, most creative in terms of story development. This is the only time where filmers could film without, interference from the studio. Back to the Future would have been no Back to the Future, because right now they would have been like, what the hell's up? Nah, we're changing that shit. They would have interfered in that. Right. We got the birth of Michael Keaton as Batman. And Tim Burton. This is like a Tim Burton, 80s Tim Burton heaven for any of those people, Beetlejuice,
Pee Wee
Herman's Big Adventure, Indiana Jones. I mean, Temple of Doom would have been all up in here. That's my favorite one out of the three of the 80s is Temple of Doom. But again, great adventures. You got the Star Wars, the birth of Star Wars from the 70s, went into the 80s, where a lot of people said Empire Strikes Back is the best one out of the three, came from the 80s. Rain Man, one of my favorite movies now, which we got to see during the thing because we didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
I never got to see it. You got the E.T. Steven Spielberg. You got a lot of movies in the 80s that influenced the 90s, 2000s, and then, of course, the 2000s and 10s. And I just like the fact that you got great soundtracks. I mean, from all these movies here, you got some killer soundtracks and original movie scores also for these movies. And again, why is everyone keep picking the 80s for their nostalgia? It's because it's the best, man. It's the best. Okay, so
how do you want to make them vote? Do you want them to use the list, or do you want them to just use their heart and pick the decade they like?
Well, you already broke the damn seal with the picking your heart. So let them pick their heart and why, and we'll read it live on the air.
So I have one vote for the 90s, and that was Tony. Tony said, I vote for the 90s because we had a lot of greats, I guess, and some of my favorite movies and some very underrated movies than what the 80s gave us. That's just his personal opinion. Pop Culture says, if you're asking my favorite, it will be the 90s because of Disney films. But I don't think it's the best. Well, that's not I guess he's voting 90s. I'll
tell you this, though. If we were going by these 10 movies, shocker, it would be the 70s because I enjoyed all those movies. And Enter the Dragon was in the 70s.
Yeah, I think the 70s was the best one of the top 10s, personally. I do. But I'm going to give that to the 90s, too. Tony has, I have a lot of nostalgia for 2000s and a lot of great cartoon shows and movies. Some of the best decade. That's why the 2000s is my second favorite. Okay. James said what he said. You read that already. Tim Talks Talkies. I can't not pick the 80s. Half of my personal top 10 are 80s films. The 80s was just plain fun, Best action, debatable, but best horror, I agree. Not you. If you notice, I didn't even bring up 90s horror because it's not that great.
Right.
Best horror, best comedy. I also disagree with comedy, but I see where he's coming from. It's the decade I can turn at any point in any mood. Respect. Okay, Tim, that's one vote for the. Oh, and Alex votes for the 80s as well.
Yeah. So
And
I
I voted
write this
for
shit down.
I got it, and I vote for the 90s. So it's 3-2.
So it's
Okay,
90s. How many?
3-2.
80s.
All right, moving on the list. Jose, 80s for me. Lots of classics. Okay, so now it's 3-3. Robert's just saying hi to people. Jose said, well, I would like to pick the 80s and the 90s, but he's going to go with just the 80s. Pop Culture 33 says 1970s for the variety of films: Star Wars, Superman, Godfather, Taxi Driver, Apocalypse Now, American Graffiti, Animal House, Dirty Harry, Enter the Dragon, Halloween, and of course, Rocky. Remember, he picked Rocky every single time.
Every single time. Pop culture was Rocky all over the place.
All right, he says, I'm going with the 70s. Okay,
Who's
so I'm going
this?
to take him off, minus him from the 90s. We're going to add him to the 70s.
All right. So it's
7.
2 90s,
Two
3
90s,
80s,
And 170s.
170s. Okay.
All right. Tony says 2000s gave us The Incredibles, which is my favorite Pixar. Okay. Robert, I vote for the 80s. That's my jam. All right. So another for the 80s. And
All right.
Stephanie says
4.
70s for me.
Ooh, Stephanie. That's
Stephanie
2.
coming through with the
Put
70s. So 2, 2, and 4.
Okay.
Alex Thomas, I'll go with the 80s. It has my favorite film of all time with Back to the Future. Very good. So that's 5. David McGuire, I would say the 80s. E.T., Indiana Jones, Top Gun, and 9 to 5 and Caddyshack.
There you
Okay,
go.
6.
Working 9 to 5.
Robert says I was in high school during the 80s. Don't tell them how old you are,
No,
Robert. Robert's only 30.
Yeah.
He's lying. Raiders is the best. Steven Navarra, as a hardcore horror fan, I'm going with the 80s.
Well, that's
Fair enough.
7.
Jay says I'm gonna go with the 70s for me.
All right. 3.
Right, that's 3. I think the 80s might. Well, yeah, probably. I see where you're coming from with the 90s action, but hit for hit is 8. I'd take 80s action if I had to pick. The height of Arnold and even the B grade action is amazing. I like to. Maybe we do a discussion one day of a
80s and
comparison
90s
point.
action. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
90s
fun.
action. That's that jam.
We
But
take
80s
Tim
good. We
Talks
did some good
Talkies
80s
and
movies
put him
too.
on the show.
We'll bring him on.
Yeah, bring him on the show.
I like
Tim
him. He's
Talks
great.
Talkies. Yeah, we'll put
Tim
him in.
Talks Talkies with the Levels of Geeks.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, David. Robert says, hey, David. Jacob, 80s was the best. 90s best.
Pick one. Pick one.
I don't know which one he picked.
Yeah.
I'll say none yet. James says, I pick movies for the win. I can't pick yet. Too many awesome movies when I think about all the ones I love. And then Tim says, I'd be in for it. All right, Tim.
There
You
you
know
go.
what? I think we'll talk offline. I think I'll follow you on Instagram. We'll talk offline.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be fun. Jacob says 80s. Definitely
Yeah, all
80s.
right, here we go. So that's
that's
8.
8.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna say,
80s.
according to the our fan base and what they're voting for, the 80s. And this is not surprising to me. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's really not surprising to me. I know not everybody, but a large number of people over 30, 31 years old and, in their 30s. The 80s is, I'm in my 30s, but 90s is more nostalgic for me. I get it. I totally get it. I love 80s movies too. Just not all of them. I know a lot of people who love all of them, and that ain't me. But I do love a lot of 80s movies.
Yeah, I mean, look, 80s movies is like an acquired taste. It's not for everybody,
Cocaine being done in the 80s. They're making some wild stuff back then.
Yeah, I mean, look, RoboCop
Creativity.
is one of the best
Great.
action movies of the 80s. If you really think about it, right?
That's what I'm saying. If you compare, RoboCop to even modern action movies, it's not even close. RoboCop has a good story. It's a satire. It's something they would never be able to make now. You know what I mean? It's super violent. It's super gory. It has a message, and it's an action film. Now everything has to be very cookie cutter, CGI.
Yeah.
Family friendly. Otherwise, can't do it. Brock Lesnar picks the 80s as well.
There you go. So that's 980.
If Brock says it, we got it. We're not gonna argue.
You get F5. You don't get
Right.
F5. And you got Die Hard 80s, which we're going to tackle the Die Hard movies on the podcast.
But the 90s has Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is also great. It's also great. If you compare it,
And 2000, is it 2000s where Live Free or Die Hard came out?
that was 2000s.
Yeah.
That was pretty good too.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen it in a while. but I like that.
I remember liking it too.
Yeah, that was really good. I love the cameras on that one. Camera scenes. But yeah, look, so there you have it. That's all. The 80s just gave the whooping to all the other franchises, which is not bad. I mean, I kind of figured, because the 80s is very beloved, and that's what they're using for these TV shows. Like Stranger Things was in 90s, it was 80s. It had great music.
Yeah, 80s
pop
nostalgia.
culture.
I think it's starting to come to the end as far as in other properties, to be honest with you. But it was huge the last, 5, 6 years, 7 years. You know what I mean? It was like 80s nostalgia was the thing. Stranger Things, you're right. All movies, you know what I mean? But let's just talk. We got some time. So Brock Lesnar says 80s horror dominated too. Now,
you're not a fan of 80s horror, right?
I like it. I don't find any 80s movies scary. I think they're slashers, mostly. Look at the big horror franchises of the 80s: Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and I like these films. I do. Halloween, but Halloween was born in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
So, if you're just looking at like popularity of horror, yes, I agree. And fun. Those are fun horror movies. I think 80s horror is more fun than 90s horror. 90s was kind of weak. If anything, I think horror is almost making a renaissance now, like 2010s and later. 2000s was not great for horror. It was a bunch of Japanese horror remakes. And the 90s I had like Scream is the only one that anyone talks about, really, you know what I mean, from the 90s.
Yeah.
80s was bigger. 70s, I think, Exorcist, Halloween, I think those are two of the greatest. So quality wise, I think even 70s, Amityville Horror is not that great of quality, but it was popular. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Have you ever seen
80s,
part 2 of Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I hate it.
You hate it? I love that one.
It's like it's so goofy.
But
I hate all the other,
awesome.
but I hate all the other Texas Chainsaw movies.
On the bridge,
he's like going all crazy. Yeah. His mask is all brown. It looks like a scab. We talked about this with Ralph. I talked about this with Ralph last week.
A scab.
I hate all of the Texas Chainsaw movies except like the original one and the remake. So.
Well, Tim Talks Talkie says, personally, I feel so desensitized to horror. I find very little actually scary. I usually lean horror with slight comedy anyway.
So then you got to go 80. See, that's tailor made for the 80s. So I see where he's coming from. Horror comedy, Evil Dead 2, more so Evil Dead 2. I feel like Evil Dead 1, they were trying to be scary, but still 80, it's an 80s horror.
Well, JB, our boy JB said the decade which had Cheech and Chong and Eddie Murphy, I believe, was the 80s. Yes. 70s, 80s.
Cheech and Chong was like late 70s.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy was definitely biggest in the 80s.
80, yeah. Because he had 48 Hours, he had all the Beverly Hills 1 and 2, he had the
Golden Child,
the
Trading
Golden
Places.
Child, Trading Places. Yeah, so
I still love 90s Eddie Murphy. Like, I love The Nutty Professor. I think it's a hilarious movie.
I love Daddy's Daycare.
Daddy Daycare. I think that was the 2000s.
I love that one. Yeah, I like that one a lot, Daddy Daycare, because that's how I feel.
For me, comedy-wise, Jim Carrey was it. Also, Robin Williams. I mean, he did 80s movies too, but like his 90s output was kind of insane. Like Mrs. Doubtfire, Aladdin. That's a Robin Williams role. Genie is like that's Robin Williams pretty much.
He's like choking on the weenie.
Flubber.
I didn't see that one. Tony Moo Champion said, let's not forget The Descent came out in the 2000s, which is one of my favorite horror movies. I never even seen that movie.
It is.
You know what I saw yesterday?
Yeah.
Was Rob Zombie 31.
Ugh, what a terrible movie, right?
So, okay.
I saw that at the theater, by the way, and it was like, what is this?
That's what I did. I said, what? Like halfway, I was starting to go, what is this? And it was okay for what it was, but it did not land with me. It did not work. Yeah. It just did not.
It's bad. It's so cheap, too. Like, I saw this in the theater, and I was like, I feel like I'm watching a straight-to-video movie. You know what I mean?
I thought this was like the start of how the chick became the devil's reject because she met that guy, and I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." But then
totally unrelated.
Yeah, and I said, "This is whack."
It was whack. Tim Talks Talkies, comedy wise, 80s had John Hughes films. Pinnacle of teen coming of age movies. Ferris Bueller is one of my favorite characters ever. Yeah. So comedy. Here's the thing with comedy. Comedy is so subjective that I don't laugh at a bunch of 80s. I think we talked about this, Alex.
I know.
Like Blues Brothers. It's not funny to me. Like I don't laugh at all. But you and Robert, and you guys are talking, and Jay, and you're like, I love this movie. It's hilarious. And I'm like, I wish. I don't get it. This is not my sense of humor.
That's funny.
I don't know. It's not. It depends on your sense of humor, I guess. But 80s humor, like I don't laugh at a lot of 80s comedies. But that's just me. It's a subjective thing.
Remember when they went to meet the penguin?
Yeah,
he drives. He goes,
remember.
remember you had to come out and you got to meet the penguin. And he went, no fucking way. And next thing you know, the next scene he's walking into the church.
Yeah,
that thing is so funny.
See? You love it.
I don't know.
I didn't like it, but
I guess I
like Beetlejuice. That's a comedy. I like Beetlejuice. That was pretty good. That was pretty funny. Yeah, that's a comedy.
I think it's
Beetlejuice
more
is a
horror.
comedy. No, it's not. It's a comedy. It is a comedy through and through. With dark element. It's a dark comedy. We'll
National Lampoon. Steven said National Lampoon vacation movies. Those were funny.
Just
the
Christmas
first one was
Vacation. And the
Harold
first
Ramis
one.
directed that one. Harold Ramis directed that first one.
Here's the comedies that I really enjoy. 80s. Vacation is good. Christmas Vacation, good. I like Ghostbusters, the first one. I like Beetlejuice. That's about it. I don't really not like there's other ones that I can watch, but if you're talking about like make me crack up laughing, no 80s movies really get me like that.
Have you
personally.
ever seen Nothing But Trouble with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd?
No, I can't say that I have because it doesn't ring a bell.
You never seen it?
No.
It's like his only movie Dan Aykroyd directed.
Isn't that weird one with Demi Moore? Is there Demi Moore in it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen bits of it, but I've never watched it.
Nothing But Trouble. I love that movie. It's so whack. I know people hate it, but not this guy. I think it's so freaking
Yeah,
funny.
I think Shout Factory just put out a Blu-ray of that not that long ago.
Oh, and then I'm gonna have to pick it up.
It's a Shout Select.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
grab
pick it up.
Now,
Yeah.
16 Candles and Breakfast Club, like I like these movies, but I don't find them hilarious.
Yeah, I'm not into the 16 Candles and the
Porky's,
Breakfast Clubs.
Porky's is not funny to me.
You
It's
never
not
seen
funny.
Nerds? Like Revenge of the Nerds?
Yeah.
Please tell me. Oh, that
I've seen Revenge of the Nerds. Revenge of the Nerds is kind of funny. But even Animal House, like 70s comedy, I don't even want to go there. I just don't really like it.
Which one? Animal
Naked
House?
Gun. Yeah, Animal House is like that 70s style of humor. It's just not me.
Yeah. Naked Gun is the joint.
Naked Gun was funny.
I can do that all day.
But yeah, these
Brock
are just
Lesnar
not.
said Coming to America all time.
Okay, there's an 80s comedy, so we're up to 5. There's 5 that I like. Coming to America is good. I like Coming to America. But if you're just talking, I'm not saying those movies are bad, the ones that people are naming. I'm saying they don't make me laugh much. You know what I mean? So with comedy, you got to find what makes you laugh. Not everything makes everyone laugh. Like I love The Office. I know you like The Office, but I know people who don't they don't think it's funny. And it's like, well, I can't make you think something is funny if you just don't think it's funny. You know what I mean? And so that's the 80s movies for me. Like they're high concept. They're not bad, but do they make me crack up laughing? Nah. 90s movies, they can.
The Police Academy,
my
you ever
favorite
seen
comedy
any
of all
those?
time. Yeah, not my cup of tea.
No. Oh my God, the first 3 are like hilarious.
Fast Times, Robert. Fast Times is not funny. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's not really funny. Not to me. I don't think it's funny.
You ever seen Stay Tuned?
Nope.
That's with John Ritter. And what happens is that he gets sucked into the TV, and then he goes through the cartoon. You gotta watch it. I like it. It's been ages since I've seen it, but
yeah.
The Jerk,
so like
Stephen Martin.
The Jerk was 70s.
Oh,
that was 70s.
How about the Man with Two Brains?
Nope. Don't know that.
That's Stephen Martin
too, right?
Yeah, the Man with Two Brains. Oh, that is mad hilarious.
See, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. There's a lot of movies that I'm pretty sure I wouldn't like or laugh at, so I skip them on purpose. I don't have the aching need to see every movie ever made. So if it's like an 80s or 70s comedy, and unless there's some talent that I really like in it, I probably will skip it because I don't want everyone to get mad at me for not liking. You know what I mean?
How about Be Kind and Rewind?
I like that movie, but that was 2000s.
Yeah,
I like that. Joke was funny. See, like Jack Black, and I do like more modern. I tend to lean towards more
The modern,
not so much
comedy.
anymore. They don't really make a lot of comedies anymore, but like 2000s and 90s.
Saving Silverman.
I love Saving Silverman, bro.
He
I love Saving Silverman.
Remember when he goes into the kitchen and he goes and he finds the spaghetti?
Bro, before he met this girl, our fun was at a 98. Since he's met this girl, 2. So that movie, bro, Saving Silverman, I love. I Love You, Man. Like a lot of Paul Rudd stuff, Role Models.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like I like all those comedies, those Judd Apatow produced, movies. And then like I said, all the Jim Carrey stuff in the 90s. And even into the 2000s. Like I love Bruce Almighty, Fun with Dick and Jane. Those are funny movies to me. I like a good chunk of like Vince Vaughn movies. Not anymore, but I thought he used to be funny. Jack Black. Like I said, Robin Williams. Like those are my like they make me laugh. So yeah, I tend to lean towards those.
No, look, that's fine.
The Goonies,
I mean, it's always just objective, right? With these movies.
It's all subjective.
I mean, it's the same thing with like what's going on now with the Batman with the Dark Knight, which I do not understand why they're comparing the two movies. It has nothing to do with each other, but it's just now everyone is comparing one with the other, and I'm like, to each his own.
The recency. There's the recency bias, like what just came out. Okay, put it this way, not to go too much into Batman, but like
no, it doesn't have to be with Batman. Pick I'm
just gonna use it because it's fresh in my mind.
Okay,
but like, okay, you see the movie, you go one time. I saw it one time, right? We're gonna discuss it tomorrow, but like people are already like ranking it amongst all the other Batman movies and like ranking Robert Pattinson's portrayal. And to me, it's hard to do that so quick. Like the movie's been out for 5 days. You know what I mean? Like I have seen The Dark Knight 10 times. I have seen Tim Burton Batman 15 times. I have seen even crap Batman and Robin. I've seen multiple times. And so I feel like with those movies, I can kind of rank and put, like I saw the Batman once. I'm not going to be like Robert Pattinson's the best Batman and this movie's better than Dark Knight. And because I have to see how I feel about it on, a repeat viewing. Now, can I discuss the movie? Yeah. But I think people do that in general. Like a movie comes out, a new movie comes out, and like, this is the best one yet. It's like, well, wait, but you've seen the other one 15 times and you really know the whole story. This you've seen once and you're already saying it's better than, and I'm not saying that you can't have that opinion. I don't ever do that because it's like it's not a fair comparison.
No, it's not a fair, and I never understood. Like I was on Twitter and I'm reading everyone, and people are killing each other over this stuff, and I'm like, but first of all, you don't even know where the arc is gonna go. I mean, we all know where he's gonna go. He's gonna get older and whatever, year 30 or something.
What if part 2 sucks? Like, what if it's just really bad?
And I never understood the ranking business because you're ranking movies upon movies where different technology, different storyline, different actors are portraying these characters. Fine, if you want to play down that route, I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to go, oh, Alex, what's your Batman ranking? Fine, we're going to go down the route. But I really don't like giving it because, to me, it's stupid. Each person played a different role in a different storyline, in a different universe of the other person. So it's like, and the same thing with the Supermans.
I had a good conversation today with a couple of my buddies from my cousin and my old friend from my old podcast. Shout out to Shannon. I went to see the Batman. We went to see it together, and we're talking about Batman, right? And she was like, "Well, I've never seen the Ben Affleck, like she hadn't seen Justice League, or Batman vs Superman." And she's like, "So I don't know if he's good, but I like for me in my mind, I don't see it." And I get that, not the actor, whatever. But I was trying to describe him I was like, he is a totally different version than even Christian Bale or Pattinson.
He's more of Patterson, but he's the older version of Patterson.
I think he's even beyond that. Yeah. He's more comic booky in the sense that he fights freaking Doomsday and these gods and monsters. Yeah. Those guys ain't showing up in Robert Pattinson's Batman. Do you know what I mean?
No.
If Clayface was the villain in the Batman, I'd fall out of my chair. I'd be like, this doesn't make sense. If Clayface was in a Ben Affleck Batman movie, I'd buy it. You know what I mean? It's a little more fantasy level, his universe. So it's hard to compare because they're not in the same realm of type of movie, right? The Nolan movies are a little more grounded. Pattinson's movie seems to be more grounded. Affleck's is a little more heightened. You know what I mean? You got Doomsday, you got like Steppenwolf, you got these heightened characters that won't show up probably in this other version. So it's not apples to apples is the point. And I agree. I'm agreeing with you.
No, yeah. I want people out there to know we're not talking the Batman. We're just discussing why people decide to rank movies after watching it once. I saw the Batman on Saturday, and let me just tell you, it was one of the worst experiences because I had someone next to me snoring for 3 hours. So
that was the worst. When you told me that,
yeah,
I was like, I
literally wanted to punch the guy in the face because the movie's going on, all you hear is and then the dude behind me is kicking the guy in front of me. Yeah. It's one of the worst experiences. So I'm going to rewatch the movie again. Yeah. And I hope it's empty because I cannot take it.
I plan to go again next week during the week when the crowd will be a little lower, you know what I mean? And really sit and I took it in the first time. Don't get me wrong. I don't feel like I missed anything,
what we were watching. Yeah.
But I want to see it again just because that's how I am. Like if I think about a movie a lot, I need to.
I couldn't. I'm sorry. I couldn't move my seat because the theater was packed. There was no changing seats.
And they're like reserved seating now too.
Yeah,
you can't just take someone else's seat and then they come in and want to fight you.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, no, I feel you. That could ruin an experience. So you definitely got to see it again. You know what I mean? And but I'm cool with people who do the rankings. I don't subscribe to it. It's like, well. It's hard I'm not going to rank yet. Maybe in like 2 years, you know what I mean? After it's been out for a while. And then I buy it on 4K and I watch it again at home. And then I'd be like, okay, this now I can rank amongst Batman movies. Where does it rank? But I agree with you.
For me, when it comes to ranking movies, I remember telling you this. Like, I don't normally do the whole one shot. This is what I'm going to give the numbers. Sure. I give it on the second watch because I had time to process. I had time to where these characters are going to go. When it comes to, again, guys, tomorrow, I see a lot of people pouring in late. Tomorrow, me, Elliot, Nate, we're going to sit down for an hour and a half. We're going to be breaking down the Batman, spoiler galore. We're gonna give you guys all our thoughts of the movie, where this thing is gonna go in the next year or whatever, or all that. But that's tomorrow, the Batman Live special show at 9 p.m. Tomorrow for you guys. But
Tim said a good point though. He agreed with us. Let me scroll up a little bit. He said, "Yeah, you need to sit and stew with a movie for a bit to rank it." I feel. So many times your mindset can change after a few viewings. How many movies we've talked about, Alex? How many times we watch a movie, we swore we liked it, and then we watch it again, and we're like, I don't like this. You know what I mean? Jurassic World, we talked about it. That was last week, right? Where I was like, I saw it in the theater. I was hyped. I was like, Jurassic World, it's awesome. Because I love Jurassic Park. It's awesome. And then I went and I watched it at home, and I was like, this ain't so awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's not bad. But it ain't as awesome
but
as
it's
I thought.
just a weird thing, like with what's going on though. It's like people are ripping. I mean, first of all, where did the Dark Knight just become like this big ass pedestal of a movie? And I'm like, wait, I was like, calm. There's like other movies that came out. Yes, fine. If you want to say awards and all this,
I get that though. The Dark Knight has been kind of that. It's been that since for a while.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's been that peak of superhero movies.
But it can't be like no other movie could surpass this movie. It's like, when the hell can
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, because I'm like, honestly, I'm not gonna do the whole point. Like I said, I have to see the Batman again. But if we're gonna go toe to toe between Christian Bale and Robert Patterson as Batman, you can't. He's year 2 compared to Christian Bale, where it is what? Batman Begins, he started, but then in Dark Knight, he's already seasoned. You can't compare the two to the two Batmans when the guy is like, again, we're going to talk about it, but it's still not possible for you to compare the two actors when one is playing him in the second year of him donning the suit, making flaws, making mistakes left and right, whereas the other one, he's already seasoned. So
he's an old pro.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me. But if I had the big one, it would be Robert Patterson.
I know you're a Bale
I cannot take that lisp, bro. I cannot take the.
But it is what it is.
He has the lisp. I can't take the lisp.
Whatever, man. You didn't like it. So what?
No. It is what it is. We'll talk about that tomorrow.
We're going to talk about it tomorrow because we're doing what? Are we talking like Batman's? Like all of them?
I have a treat for everybody. How are we going to do it tomorrow?
I'm excited. Don't tell me. I'm going to be surprised.
No, I'm not going to say. It's going to be so fun the way I laid everything out. It's going to make sense. It's going to be one of the best detailed version, I hope, of the Batman breakdown for you guys live tomorrow. But yeah, look, in terms of the decades, you guys chose the 80s.
Yeah.
80s won, which is awesome. I kind of knew it because it's my favorite decade.
70s in second. Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers to
yeah.
the 70s.
70s are in second.
You know, 0 votes for anything after the year 2000.
Yeah,
Not a
Tim
single vote.
Talkie says I never been a Bale Batman fan as much. The Dark Knight has absolutely stellar cinematography though, and I'm such a sucker for that. I am a sucker for it too.
He just doesn't like Christian Bale.
I just don't like
He didn't
Christian
say he
Bale
hates the whole
Batman.
everything else about the movie. He hates Christian Bale.
I just hate Christian. Well,
I mean, he likes him in other movies. He likes him in Terminator.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
likes him in other stuff.
Yuma.
310 of you. Just
But
don't
that
put him in
list-
a Batman.
No, he's like, I don't wear hockey pads.
Oh my gosh.
I don't wear. And his cowl was like,
Where's the
this.
trigger?
Yeah, where's Rachel? Where's Rachel? Like,
I
don't
love
know.
those movies. But
I
hey,
don't know.
whatever. I get it. I
It
totally
is.
get it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We're gonna have so much
Yeah,
fun
we're gonna review it
tomorrow.
tomorrow. We don't want
It's
to.
gonna be so
doing
fun.
Batman.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie though. I like Val Kilmer. Don't sleep on Val Kilmer. He was a perfect Bruce Wayne
Hey,
and
listen,
Batman.
Val Kilmer,
It was
he
awesome.
get the raw end of the stick because he's attached forever to Batman and Robin because Joel Schumacher directed them. Right, so people lump them like okay. I know George Clooney played them, but they're like they look the same. You know, they're all
Yeah,
neon and
all
colorful. And
Yeah.
Val Kilmer was good in that movie. I like Batman Forever
I'm
for
not
nostalgia reasons, but he's good.
You know what's funny? I rewatched that a long time ago, and it still hold up. I was enjoying it. Tommy Lee Jones took it
It's a
to the next
cartoon.
level.
It's a cartoon version. It's like
Yeah.
a cartoon.
Like
If you watch
Batman
it that way,
animated series.
yeah. But Batman and
alive.
Robin is not. There's no.
That's not
there's no-
good.
George Clooney goes last every time. No
That's
matter
not
what.
good.
You got a Batman credit card. I turn it off every time.
Remember
I
when they
turn it off.
Oh, Batman and Robin when they fall on their backs and they click their heels and ice skates come out.
Oh my gosh. I can't we need next year we're gonna do the Batman movies for
Yeah.
podcast. And I dread watching it again. And I've seen it.
Oh.
I've seen Batman and Robin like 15 times. And I hate it every single time I see it. I can't wait to talk about it.
Tony Movie Chappie says, but out of all the Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale's my personal, oh hell no, Ben Affleck is the Bruce
No.
Wayne.
Tim Talks Talkies, Michael Keaton is his favorite Batman.
All right,
You're going to get a different vote from
We'll talk about it
depends on who you
tomorrow.
ask. Yeah.
Tomorrow we're gonna talk about all the Batmans and all that stuff.
Kal-El says, swear to me.
Batman
I remember
Forever
that.
is actually aged okay. It's not as bad as I used to. Say it's cool and respectable. Hey, in 4K, it's stunning.
And Jim Carrey. And I forgot about that. I didn't
Jim
even add it
Carrey's
to my
in it,
Jim
yeah.
Carrey list. He's
Remember
awesome
when
in that.
they go in the door, they go trick or treat.
Yeah, I love that. Jim
And
Carrey.
gets hit.
I
That's
love
just
his
so
hair in
funny.
that movie too.
Oh yeah.
Flat top, like the red flat top.
If we hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, I'm gonna get the Jim Carrey big hair dude that he had. I know with the white suit,
Oh yeah. like the curly
the
thing?
big curl.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if we hit 1,000 by this year, I'm gonna come in with the Alex Riddler dude.
I'm gonna make like 19 email accounts and just subscribe to, just to
keep
get you to
hitting
do that.
1,000.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, I'm coming with one of those. That would be awesome live. I have a Batman credit card from McDonald's. There you go.
Sick. You remember all the movie tie-ins with McDonald's back in the day? Batman Forever had they had like the cups. They had like
I
the
have
Happy
the
Meal
Riddler
toys
cup. I should bring it
with
out.
the,
I
with the
have-
question mark handle.
yeah, the glass. Yeah,
And the
I
Batman
know.
one had like the the thing going all around it. Not the batarang, the grappling hook.
Yes.
It had like it was like going
Yeah.
around it. And my great grandma had all 4 cups. Think about that
Hmm.
one. I don't know.
Did
They went
you-
to
did-
McDonald's a lot. I don't know how, but they had all them all. They had them
Jeez.
all.
Batman Robin is like 1960. Batman evolved.
True. That's true.
No,
And
no,
he's
no.
Adam
Look,
West.
it's true though. Look, tomorrow again, guys. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, a special live show. Me, Nate, we're gonna be sitting here, and of course, our boy from Movie Files is gonna sit down to hear his take on the movie. We're gonna break it all down for you guys live tomorrow. But again, guys, this is what we gotta say. You guys chose the 80s as the best decades. That's yeah, that's pretty much it. Nate, you have anything to say?
No, thanks for coming. It was a lot of fun. Just a couple of previews. Next week, if you volunteer to be in the trivia tournament, be here next week because we are starting next week trivia. Then the following week, we're actually going to have a week off, so we won't be here live the next week. But the week after that, we will be doing the trivia finals. So make sure you're here for that. Also, what's our podcast this week? Oh, podcast this week, we're doing Superman Returns, continuing through the Superman movies with Superman Returns, and also Duel, Steven Spielberg, I think his first movie, Duel. By the way, those are going to be great episodes. We haven't done them yet, but they're going to be great. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and of course, like I said, guys, tomorrow, 9 o'clock, full Batman spoiler breakdown. First 5 minutes is spoiler-free. We'll give you guys our thoughts on it, spoiler-free. And of course, if you guys have a podcast, you guys like listening to podcasts, check out our action movie podcast. Right now, we're up to 136 episodes. We just tackled the Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee. Check out our thoughts on the Bruce Lee movie. I mean, it's been ages for me and Nate sitting down and rewatching this movie. So check out our thoughts on this. New episodes this week, like he said, is going to be Duel and Superman Return, continuing the DC Superman run. And we're going to stop it at Batman v Superman in terms of Superman movies. So just to let you guys know.
Quick question. Cal says, real quick, we'll end with this. Who has the best Batman score? He's going with Danny Elfman. Tim Burton Batman.
Oh my God, that is so hard. The Batman
I will say
is
this.
so good. So good.
Oh, now you saw it in the movie and you like it, right?
Which one?
The new one?
Yeah.
The Batman. Michael Giacchino?
Yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, Cappuccino.
Yeah, it's great.
That's the best.
I also love the Hans Zimmer scores on the Nolan movies, and I also love the Danny Elfman scores. I love them all. I think the Batman films consistently have some of the best scores. But if I had to pick one, the one that immediately pops into my head as far as Batman is Danny Elfman.
It's
like he's what John Williams is for Superman music. I feel like Danny Elfman is for Batman music. Personally.
I agree with you 100%. I think I would go with Danny Elfman, but if
he did the animated series. It's it's iconic.
Yeah, I agree. I would go with Danny Elfman.
The new one is very good. Has very, very good.
That new one, oh my God.
You were nervous about. You were like, I don't know how I feel about it. I was like,
I was mad nervous.
Plays and it's good.
I was listening to it today when we were on the highway, and I was like, oh my God. I thought I was in the car. I was like, oh my God.
I'm gonna agree with them. I'm gonna go with Elfman too.
Yeah, I would go with it too. Danny. Batman animated series is my favorite score. Yep, agree.
It's good.
Cal Daly says Danny is Batman King. Thanks, guys. Yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, it's kind of funny, right? Because we're tackling Superman Returns, and the new Batman movies don't use none of the repeat of the music, right? The bam, 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 bam. But I think if they did, would it work? Like a modern version of the Danny Elfman.
The theme?
Yeah,
I think it works. It's
kind of
dark.
Work?
Yeah.
Like if let's say they would have threw it into like the Robert Patterson Batman. Like he's like,
absolutely. Absolutely. Bro, if Michael Giacchino took a piece of that, he did it. He did it for Spider-Man. I don't even remember. He did the score. He did the score for the new Spider-Man movies, and he took the old Spider-Man, and he incorporated it into the score, and it works. And that crap is from like a long time ago. He could definitely have taken some of that Danny Elfman theme. I don't know if he would slow it down even more or do something. It holds up. It's still freaking good.
I'm not gonna lie, man. If let's say
people get hyped if some of that music plays.
If it was like, okay, so this is year 2 Batman. So if you tell me by the sequel, when he's like almost full blown Batman by the third one, and they give him the Danny Elfman like when he just becomes the Batman, and you hear and then the car turns on and you hear the
that'd be awesome.
Oh my God!
I'm telling you, everybody get hyped.
Oh, I'll be like, oh Lord Almighty,
pure hype,
man. Let me just tell you guys, tomorrow night. Can't wait to talk about it. Tomorrow night, I have not given nobody my reviews, not even my family members. They're like, what do you think? I was like, Tuesday at 9 o'clock. You're gonna hear.
What do you think? Don't worry about it.
Huh? Yeah. What do you?
They asked you, what do you think? You said, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I said, don't worry about it. But let me just tell you. But yeah, no, it's awesome. All right. So, and it's coming. You know what? Should we do a live watch along when it comes out on YouTube? On HBO Max, should we do a watch along together?
I don't know, 3 hours long. I don't know, but Maybe.
Maybe we throw an intermission
Yeah,
in the middle.
See what people think about. Everybody pause it now. Go
Yeah,
get a
pause
snack.
it,
Let's
intermission.
chat.
Yeah, we get some sodas. And I think, we should do our first watch along on this channel for 2022 should be the Batman and discuss and break down with some YouTube friends of ours. That would be some fun. If you guys want to hear that and you guys want to check that out and you guys think, oh man, that's a pretty good idea, just let us know in the comments below if that's something you think should work for the channel. We're not big on the watch alongs, but I will take an exception for 3 hours to do it with the chat, with the community, have fun, eat some pizza, watch the movie together, and have a fun night. That'll be fun. Nice guys, watch along. Yeah.
All right.
We'll have Tim Talkies with us live.
He got to come on in a future episode. We're going to talk with him
we're
about
gonna have him. We
80s
can have
and 90s
Alex
action
Thomas
movies.
on.
Yeah.
We throw out everybody. You know what?
Yep.
We'll have fun with that. All right, anyway, guys. With that said, thank you so much for joining us live tonight. Thank you so much. Oh, do a Judge Dredd watch along? You know what? You want to do one
the reboot, the Carl Urban?
Yeah, the Carl Urban.
Oh,
You want to do
that's
one of
my
those?
jam. That movie's my jam.
I love that one. You want to do one of those?
We'll
Judge
see.
Dredd?
Depends on the date. Depends on the time. Depends on the date. But
We'll pick a date. All right, we'll pick a date. You know what? We'll do a Judge Dredd reboot watch along. We'll pick a date. I'll sit down.
It's hard
with
for me
Nate.
to watch
We'll pick
movies
it.
from here because it's like my setup.
You're gonna
But
have to
I'm
put it
gonna
on
be
your
moving-
phone or iPad.
I'm gonna be moving in a few months, and when I'm at the new place, it might be easier. I'll just say that.
Well, you're gonna have to put it on your on your phone.
Put it on Google Glass. Get some
Google
Google glasses and
Glasses.
watch it in my glasses while talking to you guys.
Hey, whatever. We'll figure it out. We'll have some fun. We'll figure something out. All right. I'm trying to think. All right, yeah. So that's everything. Yeah, that's everything. That's it. Thank you so much. I could be here all day talking to you guys. Me and Nate could do it, but we can't because we have stuff to do afterwards. We're gonna have to do some recordings right after this. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us for an hour and 2 minutes. I loved it. Again, we're not stopping. Tomorrow we are back with the Batman spoiler for the first of 2022. We did the Ghostbusters last year. Now this year we're going to start it off again with the Batman, hopefully Jurassic Park, Aquaman, Doctor Strange. We're going to have all that shit here live for you guys for upcoming weeks. So we're going to have some fun here. So thank you so much for everyone joining us live. You're catching us on the replay. Thank you so much to all the Patreons that support the channel. Thank you so much. Again, guys, have a happy night. Have a good night. Be awesome to each other. And geek out. Hey, before you go, please consider subscribing to the channel, hitting them like buttons if you enjoyed this live stream, and of course, hit those notification bells so every time we go live or you guys will be notified. Till then, be awesome to each other and geek out.